Hello, hello! Today in the city, there's a black car, a blue chair, and a brown skeleton having a conversation with each other. To kick things off with my very first character, I boldly grabbed a rectangular frame, yes, a plain old boxy shape, and then, with the seriousness of an artist and the enthusiasm of a 5-year-old, I smooshed black clay all over it, like I was icing a very dark, very rectangular cake. The whole thing ended up looking like a mysterious monolith, but squishier. On top of that glorious black rectangular blob, I decided it needed a face. Because what's life without a little personality, right? So I crafted the goofiest, happiest face I could manage. Think big, googly eyes, a wide, lopsided grin, and maybe even eyebrows that looked permanently surprised. Suddenly, my mysterious black box wasn't so mysterious anymore. It was cracking jokes and ready for a party. Next up, it was time to give this happy-faced box some real purpose in life. So I started turning it into a bus. Yep, I rolled up my sleeves and began adding windows along the sides, because every respectable bus needs windows for passengers to stare dramatically out of. I carefully crafted little rectangles, aka windows, spacing them out like tiny picture frames for imaginary travelers. Then came all the other bussy details: doors, wheels, mirrors, and whatever else makes a box officially roadworthy. Suddenly, my cheerful black block had transformed into a funky, smiley-faced bus that looked ready to drive straight into a cartoon. And finally, the grand finale. I gave my funky little bus not just wheels, oh no, but 6 big, bold, black, muscular legs. That's right, legs. Like some kind of superhero spider bus hybrid ready to stomp its way into action. Each leg was thick, powerful, and looked like it had been hitting the gym every day since kindergarten. Forget driving, this bus was ready to run, jump, and maybe even do squats. Honestly, by the end, it didn't just look like a vehicle anymore. It looked like it could win a wrestling match. Let's move on to the next fabulous character in my bizarre little clay universe, the skeleton of a chair. Yes, that's right. A bare, lonely, slightly confused chair frame, just sitting there waiting for a purpose in life. And I, being the generous sculptor that I am, decided to give it a makeover it would never forget. So I grabbed a big lump of bright green clay, think fresh lettuce meets radioactive slime, and started covering every inch of that chair like I was frosting a bizarre vegetable-themed cake. I wrapped the legs, the seat, the backrest. Nothing was left untouched. The transformation was glorious. Suddenly the chair no longer looked like it belonged in a boring office. It looked like it had just burst out of a jungle, ready to host a forest king. If chairs could talk, this one would definitely say, "I may be a seat, but I was born to stand out." But of course, no true character is complete without a face, and my leafy green chair was no exception. So I rolled up some more clay and got to work crafting a face so cheerful, so ridiculously happy, it could brighten up a dentist's waiting room. I gave it two big, bouncy eyes that looked like they'd seen some wild stuff but chose joy anyway. Then I sculpted a huge beaming smile, one of those smiles that stretches just a little too wide, like it's permanently excited about absolutely everything. Maybe it just heard a good joke. Maybe it just found out it's the only chair in the house that gets to have a face. Either way, it was grinning like it won the furniture lottery. At that point, my green clay chair wasn't just a chair anymore. It was a full-blown, happy-go-lucky character, ready to laugh, listen, and maybe give you a pep talk while you sit down. And finally, because why stop at just a happy face? I gave my cheerful green chair some serious upgrades. A pair of strong, mighty arms and a matching set of powerful legs. No longer just a place to sit, This chair was now ready to stand up for itself, literally. I sculpted two muscular hands, clenched slightly like it was always ready for a high five or a dramatic action pose. The arms were thick and heroic, like they'd been lifting textbooks or tree trunks in their spare time. Then came the legs, sturdy, proud, and planted like it was ready to sprint into battle, or at least do a little dance. With its brand new limbs, the green chair had officially evolved from furniture into a full-fledged character, somewhere between a superhero and a very enthusiastic personal trainer. Honestly, I half expected it to shout, "Take a seat if you dare." And now last, but definitely not least, we come to our final character, a true underdog in every sense. I started with a skinny, fragile-looking skeleton frame. Honestly, it looked like a coat hanger that had just come back from a juice cleanse. But I wasn't about to let it stay that way. Oh no, I grabbed a nice big chunk of earthy brown clay and started slathering it all over the bony little frame, like I was giving it the mud bath of its life. I covered every last skinny limb and creaky joint until the whole thing looked less like a skeleton and more like a mysterious walking stick that had been through some stuff. But of course, I couldn't just leave this brown clay blob looking like a melted chocolate bar with limbs. No, I had to give it some character. So I grabbed my trusty sculpting tools and got to work carving out all the juicy details. I started shaping ribs. Yes, actual bumpy, uneven rib-like ridges across its chest, like it had just escaped from an anatomy class. Then I added some lumpy, bony bumps along the arms and legs, because nothing says mysterious and slightly spooky like a few oddly placed joints poking out. The whole body became a wonderful mess of ridges, dips, and knobby angles, like a walking sculpture of someone who skips meals but lifts rocks for fun. At this point, it looked like a creature from a sci-fi forest, or maybe a very misunderstood fashion model made of bark and bones. And then, because why stop at one head when you can have two? I decided to give this bony brown creature not just a single face, but two glorious wooden-like heads, perched right on top like a pair of weird mushrooms growing from the same mysterious log. Both heads were sculpted to look like chunks of carved wood, textured, uneven, full of grooves like they'd been whittled in the forest by a squirrel with artistic ambition. But here's the twist. Each head had a totally different vibe. One was all sunshine and rainbows, a big goofy grin, wide eyes sparkling with joy, and an expression that screamed, "Hey, want a hug?" You couldn't look at it without smiling back. It was like a motivational speaker trapped in a tree stump. But the other head? Oh boy, pure evil. That one had a twisted scowl, angry, squinting eyes, and the kind of sinister smirk that said, "I steal lunch money for fun." It practically radiated mischief. You could almost hear it plotting world domination, or at least planning to hide your left shoe. Together, the two heads made the creature look like it couldn't decide whether to help you up or push you off a cliff, with a smile, of course.